So that was the very first episode of The L Word without series lead, the heart of the show, Jennifer Beals, and boy did it show. So today we're going to talk about episode 3 of season 3, Quiz Show. It was also the first episode to not have an L title, and also sadly it is the last episode that series regular Sepideh Moafi will appear in. So we're going to talk about everything. This video will probably focus a lot on Dani and Gigi and just Gigi as a whole because of all of what I've just mentioned. I'm going to do what I did last year, which is like go through the characters, because in episodes 1 and 2 my kind of emotions got away from me because I just wanted to talk about Bette and Tina, and you know, as we're all painfully aware, they were not in this episode. So I'm going to start with Shane because it's just like I don't have too much to say because Shane has had the same storyline for 20 fucking years. Like literally this is the same storyline. You could take it from any season of the original. And I remember Kate, like probably 2 years ago, I think this was between the hiatus for season 1 and 2, and Kate was saying that when she initially went to like, you know, the meetings about Gen Q and talking about the show coming back and Shane, she specifically said like, I do not want Shane to just be a 40-year-old version of Shane from the original L Word, like doing the same things. And this is exactly that. I mean, it is really hard to kind of root for it. I don't know who would be rooting for this. I don't know who this is for. I can't get into it either because it's like, I know that it's going nowhere with Kehlani because Kehlani's ultimately a guest star and she's not going to stick around for, you know, the rest of the season. I think probably next episode would be it. So I can't really, there's not much for me to say. Tess also, I don't know what they're doing there because the thing about the L Word is that it's the L Word. It's about... It's like, I can't believe I'm explaining this. The whole thing of the show is that it's about like lesbians and women loving women and bi women and like, why do we have storylines about like someone's mother who has dementia? Because I know that that's important for people to be in touch with and stuff, but there's other shows that do this. We have 10 episodes of TV. 10 episodes, because you know all those other shows like Gentleman Jack, Paper Girls, First Kill, Batwoman, they've all been cancelled. We have 10 episodes and 10 precious episodes of the L Word, and we're wasting it on storylines that just anyone can do, any other show could do, and probably do it better because they have more time or resources or whatever. But we have 10 episodes and this is what we're doing. It just absolutely baffles me. So the test stuff, like why they're having this character constructed in this way too, where like she was arguing with Shane, I just don't get it. And then it's like, oh, Shane goes and cheats. Like, please. Oh, God. So boring. And so just like, we've seen it for 20 years. So moving on, next, I'm going to talk about Sophie, who kind of, there wasn't too much going on with her this episode. She was in it quite a lot, but it was more just like to do with Alice's show and checking in and things. And I don't know what they're quite doing here with the Dani and Sophie thing. They just seem to be pissing everyone off. I mean, I've said for a long time now, I don't think anyone who was together in season 2 will make it through to the season 3 finale together. So I definitely think that Sophie and Finley will split up. And I don't know whether they'll like have a little Sophie and Dani reunion, but I don't know why they would do that, because one of the huge fundamental problems of season 1 was the fact that like people didn't really, as a whole, I know there were some people who did, but as a whole most people were not fans of Dani and Sophie, and that was like one of the big issues. And also some of the things in season 1, like the whole political stuff, like another thing that why are we doing this on the L Word? It's not a politics show. It's about women loving women and LGBTQ people. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Dani and Sophie. I don't really care to find out. I don't have any feeling or connection whatsoever to them. Sophie obviously is still with Finley. I actually really like Finley. I know that it's kind of a divided thing between everyone who watches the show, but I do really like Finley, and I did really like the Carrie and Finley scene. Obviously, Rosie O'Donnell being back on the show was cool too, and I have said this for a couple of months now, that I believe that Rosie was going to have, or Carrie was going to have, a relationship with this Misty character who's played by someone who's a friend of Marsh's, I believe, and that is the bowling ball picture from, I think it's episode 7, where I think that is going to be where Carrie and Misty go out. Again, the timeline seems to have fractured into like different realities and things, because I just don't know. Like, I honestly, like, I know it's such a silly thing that I go on about, but it's because it's such an easy thing. And to not care about that, I'm like, what is going on? Because you started the season with Angie moving into college, which is August. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, that's when California colleges start. And then the next day, because we start episode 2 in the end of episode 1, the next day it's September 22nd, and then the next day in that episode we have Dani saying, oh, Sophie's gonna ask Alice about me doing the 100th episode. So there has to have been some passage of time, the same as episodes 1 and 2, but they didn't. There was no passage of time. They start at the same time. And Angie's having her first day of class, and so Dani somehow was able to plan an entire 100th episode in 5 days, because we know it's been 5 days, because Gigi says to Nat she's been off for 5 days since the accident.
Hi. How are you doing? You like shit. No, I'm good. Honestly, I've had 5 days off. I can't remember the last time I had 5 days off.
And the accident picked up right from where we ended Bette and Tina's big romantic goodbye at the end of episode 2. And Angie has her first day of class. So really, Angie started university or college in August. She had her second day of college the 22nd of September. And now here she is, mid-October, having her first day of class. Like, what can I possibly say about that? Because to not care like that much, I mean, there's people who literally, like, on other shows that someone is assigned, like, you need to be aware of, like, the time and the passage of time and where we are in LA. And I know I've gone off on this huge tangent, but it just frustrates me so much, because I know not everyone's watching the show with like this layer of like critique or criticism or whatever this is that I'm doing, but it's really, really basic stuff. There's nothing else to say. I'm gonna move on to the next character, which all I have to say about Micah is he was in the last scene. Another character that I'm like, why do you have this character if you're not going to do anything with him? So just before we talk about Dani and Gigi, I'm just going to talk about Alice. Alice, she's your star, baby. Leisha Haley is your star, and you need to utilize her a lot more, because she's giving everything and everybody else, it's like dribs and drabs. So Leisha Haley needs to be in this show more. They need to be focusing on her. She's the star. She's the person who can you just put the camera on her and you don't have to do anything, because she does everything. She's a great improviser. She is so comedically talented, and it is a travesty that she is not on the screen more. We just got little bits of her this episode, and I'm hoping this thing with Joey Lauren Adams' character means that we're going to get a bit more. We did get a random throwaway line about Tom and Alice turning down the proposal.
Bette and Tina got me those flowers.
Oh, that's nice. Glad they're making it work.
And Tom got me a basket of big pens.
And that's odd.
I turned down the marriage proposal.
Right.
But he's still able to be a good friend.
So we do know from the trailers that Tom's going to come back one episode at least this season. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, they really need to be utilizing Leisha Haley more, because if you think about it, like, some of the guest stars in this episode were in it more than some of the series regulars. And I understand sometimes that's going to happen with guest stars and things, but I just feel as though we've had this big, huge loss of Jennifer and Laurel and Bette and Tina that are like the heart foundation of the show, and they've just been like, let's cram all these guest stars into this Bette and Tina shaped hole. No one will notice, right? We noticed. So I think that Leisha Haley, like, that is their best chance of climbing themselves out of this Bette and Tina hole, which they've just dug even deeper by throwing Dani and Gigi in there too. I know Dani's still on the show, but they really assassinated her character here. Just before I talk about that, I will say the one thing is we got to see a lot more of the Alice set here.
100. The chart.
Right?
Oh, where it all began.
Just a reminder of your humble beginnings.
I love it.
And I will put a few little video clips on the screen, because when I got to go to set, which was so awesome and one of the best days of my life, when you go there, like, it was so crazy to see everything. And they did have that original chart hanging on the wall, even like going into the Dana's bathroom, like, it's real, and, you know, it's really huge actually. And there was lots of other things that were so cool to like see on the set, and I was able to actually see them on the screen here, because most of the time, like, Alice's scenes are real quick and we don't get much time in like her bullpen or anything like that. So it was really cool to see, and I'm hoping that they focus more on Alice, Leisha Haley, and we get more time in the Alice show world, because that's the other thing. Like, since season 1, we really haven't got much of anything with Alice's show, and that was a genius decision. Whoever was like, oh, Alice is going to be a talk show host, like, hopefully we get more Alice and more Leisha Haley, because also that comedy that she brings, like, that's what people love, and the like poking fun and things. So now on to Dani and Gigi, and I feel like someone like spit in my face. Like, it's not only I mean, like, obviously we knew that Seppi was going to leave the show. We knew some of these things were coming, and they had to write her out in 3 episodes. There are better ways to do it. It's astounding to me that we go from like season 2 episode 7, where they first get together and they have that like are you real conversation, which they ripped off and thought, oh, this sounds good, and put it with Bette and Tina in the beginning of episode 2.
I mean, it feels so real to me. Yeah, it is real.
It was so jarring. It was so out of character. Like, I feel like both Dani and Gigi were out of character, and Seppi is an amazing, amazing actress. Like, she's booked and busy, and I'm sure she's absolutely fine. But her social media absence around the L Word when they were filming and stuff, and even now, speaks volumes, because she was a champion for her character. She was a champion for Dani and Gigi, and it's really sad to see that. Like, in season 2, her and Ari gave so much, like, through social media and everything, and they just seemed like great people, like, that really cared about the show, and both of them were actually fans of the show before being cast on it. So I think that's also why they were able to tap into the fans and stuff like that so well, and along with also like obviously having great chemistry and like being great characters. Seppi is an amazing actress, and probably that scene in the car with Nat, the last scene where Dani's throwing fucking oranges at her and Gigi's crying, those were probably real tears because of what they were doing to Gigi and Dani and Gigi, because I mean, when Seppi talks in interviews, like, she seems to be really proud of playing this character, and it's just there's nothing else to say, but it was just so sad to see, like, and to have this scene be the last one that Gigi's in, it's just awful. Feel like there was like a little bit of light like missing out of her eyes, because I can't imagine what it must be like to go from, you know, how good it was for their characters at the end of season 2 and thinking, oh, you know, this is going great, and like people were so connected to it, to like the literal whiplash that she got in this episode. Also, I just think it's really, really sad, because imagine if we were at this point and, you know, Dani and Gigi, like, Gigi wasn't leaving the show, everything was fine, and last week, you know, we had Jennifer Beals who's saying, I'm stepping back, and like, obviously with Jennifer Beals goes Laurel holloman, and they're even, you know, saying like, oh, we're getting back together, the end of the season, they tie everything up in a nice bow, and we do kind of have this resolution for Bette and Tina. Now they're back together. Obviously, I know a lot of people would really like to see them actually being together after all this 20 years of bullshit, but the resolution and happiness there. But with Dani and Gigi, that literally was the future of the show. Those are the only people that have that kind of Bette and Tina magic chemistry. You can't really put an actual like definition or word on it. It's more than that, and it could have been the whole new chapter, outlook, whatever you want to say, of Generation Q. I think they just absolutely have thrown away the best thing to come out of the L Word Generation Q for like the new Generation Q part. Obviously, like, the Bette and Tina stuff is like my favorite bit, but Dani and Gigi were the Generation Q, like, they were the future of the show. And now, like, when the episode ended and it was just Dani, Sophie, Micah, and Finley, I just got this feeling that was like, oh, so you really, really just like fucked this whole thing up, because everyone that the fans mainly care about or have like really passionate connections to have been like ostracized completely. And even when you look at like Leisha and Kate, like, listening to their podcasts and things, it seems as though they kind of keep everything at a distance, because it just seems, I don't know, that I just looked at that end scene and I was just so disappointed, thinking, if this is the future of the show, then I don't know who it's for, because it's certainly not for me. And it's really sad that someone, even just speaking like about myself, that I love this show. I get excited to watch this show. I wake up at 3:30 to watch the show and talk about it. And today I wasn't excited. Like, I didn't. Normally on a Friday, I'm like, yes, it's L Word day, like, and like jump out of bed. And today I was like, I don't even want to watch this episode, because I know what's going to happen. And at the end, like, we're just down another person that was the future of the show, the one of the great parts of the show. And I absolutely felt that way at the end, that it was just thrown away. So I know I've gone off on a super tangent there, but the last thing I wanted to say was that I don't know if many people noticed this, but Jennifer Beals is still at the beginning of the credits, which was odd. She will still be credited, like, because she's the lead of the show. Like, of course she's still going to be credited, but they said in that article that she was going to move to the end, because usually if you're like a big, you know, star, normally you'll get the first credit, or they call it like the anchor or the trailer, and it'll have like the and Jennifer Beals, like the way they do and Laurel holloman for when she guest stars. So I would assume maybe next episode it's going to start. It was weird that they didn't do it this one, but Jennifer Beals is not an executive producer anymore, and that to me is wildly interesting because it's just very strange. Like, you do not just give up being an executive producer. And even like, look at Ellen Pompeo. She's stepped back from Grey's and she's only in a certain amount of episodes. She's still an executive producer. I was really, really surprised to see that. Really surprised. So that to me is a statement. So let me know what you think, especially about Dani and Gigi. I know this was really long and rambly and tangenty and different to what I have been doing with my reviews, reactions, but a reaction to this episode, I don't think I could have done it, and I don't think that anyone would want to watch it, because the whole point to reactions like that is that, you know, it's a fan watching it that's excited or happy or something. And I don't know what this was, but it wasn't it. So this is, of course, day 2 of my advent calendar. Make sure you're subscribed because I'm doing a giveaway for the advent calendar. And all you have to do is be subscribed, like the video, and comment on the video, and you can enter every single day. So make sure you're subscribed, follow me on social media, check out my merch store, because, you know, this is going to be discontinued soon with like not in the show, not on the show, not on the show. So who else is going to be removed from my merch this season? Who knows? As always, make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.